Jai-ho sat at his computer desk, his eyes tired from staring at lines of code all day. The clock on his wall showed 8:30 p.m., and outside his apartment window, the autumn rain fell softly on the streets of Seoul. He had spent another long day fixing bugs in his company's software, and all he wanted now was to order dinner and rest. As he reached for his phone to order food, something strange caught his eye. A small envelope had somehow appeared on his desk. He was sure it hadn't been there a minute ago. The envelope shimmered with a faint blue light, like moonlight on water. "That's weird," Jai-ho said to himself, picking up the envelope. It felt warm to the touch, like it was alive. When he turned it over in his hands, the light seemed to follow his movements, creating patterns that looked like stars. With careful fingers, he opened the envelope. Inside was a card that looked like it was made of glass. As soon as he took it out, words began to appear in the air above it, floating like tiny fireflies. "Welcome, honored guest. You are invited to the autumn night market, where wonders from beyond the stars await. Tonight only, as the clock strikes 9, follow the blue light to find us. Bring only your curiosity and an open mind. Magic awaits." Jai-ho laughed nervously. This had to be a joke, right? Maybe one of his friends from the gaming club was playing a prank on him. But how did they make the words float like that? And how did the envelope appear on his desk? He checked his phone. It was 8:45 p.m. If this was real, he had 15 minutes to decide. "This is crazy," he muttered, but he couldn't stop staring at the invitation. The floating words began to change color, shifting from gold to purple to deep blue. Then he noticed something else, small symbols at the edges of the card that seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. Every time he tried to focus on one, it would change into something else. Jai-ho walked to his window and looked out at the rain-soaked street below. To his surprise, he saw a faint blue light in the distance, just like the invitation had mentioned. The light seemed to be coming from the direction of the old market district, where most shops had closed for the day. He thought about his normal evening routine, ordering food, watching videos, maybe playing some games before bed. It was safe, comfortable, and completely ordinary. But something about this invitation made his heart beat faster. When was the last time he had done something truly unexpected? Looking at his reflection in the window, Jai-ho saw a young man in a simple white shirt and jeans, with round glasses and neat black hair. He looked exactly like what he was, a normal software engineer living a normal life. But maybe, just maybe, tonight could be different. "I must be crazy," he said, grabbing his jacket and umbrella. He put the invitation in his pocket, where he could feel it humming softly, like it was happy with his decision. At 8:55 p.m., Jai-ho stepped out into the rain. The blue light seemed to grow brighter, as if welcoming him. As he walked toward it, he noticed other strange things. The usual noise of the city seemed to fade away. The rain made a musical sound when it hit his umbrella, like tiny bells ringing. With each step, the ordinary world seemed to change slightly. The streetlights cast shadows that moved in impossible ways. The air smelled like cinnamon and starlight. If starlight had a smell, Jai-ho realized he was walking faster now, drawn toward the mysterious light. At exactly 9:00 p.m., Jai-ho turned a corner and stopped in amazement. Where there had been empty shops and closed markets, he now saw something impossible. Floating lanterns of every color lit up the street. Strange music played from somewhere far away. And there, right in front of him, was an archway made of light, with words written in the air. "Welcome to the autumn night market. Leave your ordinary world behind." Jai-ho took a deep breath. Then, holding tightly to his umbrella, he stepped through the archway and into a world of magic. The ordinary Thursday night had just become extraordinary, and Jai-ho's life would never be the same again. As Jai-ho stepped through the archway, the rain stopped. Or rather, it continued falling everywhere except in the market space. He watched in wonder as raindrops hit an invisible barrier above the market and rolled away like water on glass. The market before him was unlike anything he had ever seen. Stalls made of light and shadow lined both sides of a street that seemed to stretch forever. Each stall glowed with its own unique colors, and the air was filled with pleasant smells he couldn't name. Jai-Ho walked slowly, taking everything in. Some stalls sold things that looked almost normal, bottles of glowing liquid, strange fruits, and beautiful crafts. But others displayed items that made no sense to his eyes, objects that changed shape when he looked at them directly. Then he saw the flower stall. Beautiful flowers of every color filled the space, but these weren't ordinary flowers. Some gave off their own light, while others seemed to sing quiet melodies. The vendor, a young woman in a simple blue dress, was arranging a bunch of flowers that looked like they were made of starlight. "Would you like to see them closer?" the vendor asked. Her voice was gentle, with a slight accent Jai-Ho couldn't place. The name tag on her dress read, "Hei-yun." "Yes, please," Jai-Ho said, stepping closer. "I've never seen flowers like these before." Hei-yun picked up one of the glowing flowers. "This is a starlight lily. It only grows on planets with 3 moons." She held it out to him. As Jai-Ho reached for the flower, a breeze blew through the market. For just a moment, Hei-yun's appearance seemed to shift. Instead of a young woman, Jai-Ho saw something else. A tall, graceful being with silvery skin and eyes that contained swirling galaxies. Then she was back to normal, but Jai-Ho knew what he had seen. "You're not human," he said quietly. Hei-yun smiled. "And you're very observant. Most humans don't notice, even when the wind blows." She touched one of the singing flowers, and its melody grew stronger. "I'm a botanical researcher. Earth has such fascinating plant life. I study it and bring samples from other worlds to share." Jai-Ho found himself relaxing, despite the strangeness of talking to an alien disguised as a human. Is that allowed? Sharing alien plants with humans? "The night market has special rules," Hei-yun explained. "What happens here stays here. Though," she added with a small smile, "if you buy a flower, it will remain even after you leave. They're quite safe, I promise. They just need water and moonlight to live." Jai-Ho looked at the starlight lily in his hand. Its gentle light pulsed like a heartbeat. "Why did I get invited here? I'm just a normal person." "Normal is a matter of perspective," Hei-yun said. She gestured at the market around them. "To me, Earth's ordinary flowers are exotic wonders. To others here, human technology is fascinating magic." She paused, then added, "And no one gets invited to the night market by accident." Just then, a customer at the next stall let out a delighted laugh. Jai-Ho turned to look and saw someone drinking tea from a cup that changed color with each sip. The tea seller, a tall man with kind eyes, caught Jai-Ho's gaze and nodded in greeting. "That's Yunwoo," Hei-yun said. "His teas let you experience memories from across the galaxy. Would you like to meet him?" Before Jai-Ho could answer, a sound like distant bells rang through the market. Several of Hei-yun's flowers began to glow brighter in response. "The market is fully opening now," Hei-yun explained. "More vendors will be arriving." She picked up a small pot containing what looked like tiny blue stars. "Here, a welcome gift. These are moondrops. They're perfect for beginners." "Thank you," Jai-Ho said, carefully taking the pot. Will you be here later? I have so many questions." Hei-yun's eyes sparkled, and for a moment, Jai-Ho saw galaxies in them again. "I'll be here. The night is long, and there's much to discover. Just follow your curiosity, Jai-Ho. That's why you were chosen." As Jai-Ho walked away from the flower stall, holding his pot of moondrops, he felt a mix of excitement and wonder. Behind him, he heard Hei-yun begin to sing softly to her flowers, her voice carrying notes that no human throat could make. The night was indeed long, and his adventure was just beginning. Jai-Ho walked deeper into the market, carefully holding his pot of moondrops. The market path curved gently ahead of him, revealing new wonders with each step. The air grew warmer, filled with pleasant scents he had never experienced before. He approached a stall where several people had gathered. In the center stood Yunwoo, the tea master He-yun had mentioned. He was brewing tea in containers that looked like clear glass, but moved like water. Different colors swirled inside them, creating patterns that reminded Jaiho of the northern lights. "Welcome," Yunwoo said, looking up at Jaiho. "Would you like to taste a memory?" Jaiho stepped closer. "What kind of memory?" "Today, I have the sunset from a planet with 3 suns," Yunwoo said, pouring a golden liquid into a small cup. "When you drink it, you will experience 5 minutes of sitting on a crystal beach, watching all 3 suns set at once." Jaiho accepted the cup. The tea inside shifted colors from gold to orange to deep red. He took a careful sip, and suddenly he wasn't in the market anymore. He felt warm sand beneath him, and the sky above was filled with 3 huge suns of different colors. The ocean before him was made of tiny crystals instead of water, and it sparkled with rainbow light. The experience felt completely real. When Jaiho opened his eyes, he was back in the market. "That was amazing," he said softly. Yunwoo smiled. "The universe is full of beautiful moments worth sharing." He began preparing another brew. Each cup holds a different memory, freely given by travelers who wanted to share their experiences. Moving on from the tea stall, Jaiho came to a display of jewelry that caught his eye. The pieces seemed to be made of metal that moved like liquid. A woman with silver-streaked hair was working at a small table, crafting something that glowed as she shaped it. "Hello," she said without looking up. "I'm Sunmei. You look like someone who would appreciate a universal translator." Jaiho watched as she finished the piece she was working on. A simple silver ring. Universal translator. Sunmei held up the ring. "Try it on. Then you'll understand all languages in the market, not just the ones being translated for you now." Jaiho hadn't even realized the translations were happening. He slipped on the ring, and suddenly the market came alive with new sounds. He could understand conversations in languages that didn't sound like they could come from human mouths. Some were like music, others like whispers of wind or the sound of falling rain. "How does it work?" he asked, fascinated by the ring. "It connects to the part of your mind that understands meaning," Sunmei explained. "Languages are just different ways to share thoughts. The ring helps your mind see past the words to the meaning beneath." She smiled. "Keep it. Consider it a welcome gift from one explorer to another." Jaiho thanked her and continued walking. He passed stalls selling bottles of liquid starlight, maps that showed paths between worlds, and devices that could capture and replay dreams. Each vendor had their own story, their own piece of the universe to share. At one small stall, he found boxes that played music from distant worlds. Another sold books that wrote themselves based on the reader's thoughts. A friendly vendor offered him a piece of fruit that tasted like a happy memory from his childhood. As he walked, Jaiho noticed something interesting. While the other visitors seemed amazed by the magical and technological wonders around them, the vendors were just as fascinated by simple earth things. One alien merchant was excitedly examining a regular umbrella. Another was carefully studying a smartphone someone had shown them. Jaiho stopped at a quiet corner to rest. He looked at his gifts, the moon drops from He-yun and the translator ring from Sunmei. The night was still young, but he had already seen more wonders than he had imagined possible. And somewhere ahead, he could sense, even greater mysteries waited to be discovered. The gentle music of the market floated around him, a mixture of earth songs and alien melodies that somehow fit perfectly together. Jaiho took a deep breath and smiled. He was ready to explore more. As Jaiho walked deeper into the market, the lights around him changed. The bright colors of the outer stalls faded into softer, older light that reminded him of ancient stars. The path ahead curved around what looked like a traditional Korean pavilion, but it floated slightly above the ground. Near the pavilion, an elderly man sat at a simple wooden table. He was dressed in traditional Korean clothes, and his face held a gentle wisdom that made Jaiho want to stop and listen. A sign on the table read, Da-hyun, Market Guardian. "Ah, our new visitor," the old man said, looking up. "Please, sit with me for a moment." Jai-ho sat down across from Da-hyun. The table between them seemed to be made of regular wood, but tiny points of light moved through its grain like stars through space. "You have questions," Da-hyun said. It wasn't a question. "About how this place exists, perhaps." Jai-ho nodded. "Nothing here seems to follow normal rules." Da-hyun smiled. "That is because we are not in what you would call normal space." He raised his hand, and above the table, an image appeared. It showed their market as a small bubble of light, connected to many other bubbles by thin streams of energy. "This market exists in what we call a pocket dimension," Da-hyun explained. "Think of it as a special room that sits between other rooms, but these rooms are different worlds and realities. We created this space long ago as a safe place where different civilizations could meet and trade." "We?" Jai-ho asked. "My people. We were travelers and explorers who found that trade and sharing helped bring peace between different worlds." Da-hyun's eyes held memories of countless years. "Now I am the last of my kind, and I maintain this market as a guardian." Jai-ho looked around with new understanding. "So all these vendors come from different worlds, different dimensions." "Yes. Each has their own magic, their own technology, their own wonders to share." Da-hyun gestured at the market around them. "Some come to trade goods, others to share knowledge. Many come simply to meet beings from other worlds." "But why invite humans?" Jai-ho asked. "We don't have magic or advanced technology to share." Da-hyun laughed softly. "Don't you? Look around again. See how fascinated the vendors are by your earth items. Your music, your art, your ways of thinking. These are as magical to them as their items are to you." As if to prove his point, a group of vendors nearby were excitedly examining a simple paper book that someone had brought. They marveled at how it worked without power or technology. "Humans have something special," Da-hyun continued. "You can adapt to new ideas quickly. You see wonder in both the magical and the ordinary. And you have an endless desire to learn and understand." Jai-ho thought about Hae-yun's flowers and Yoon-woo's memory teas. "Is it safe, all these different worlds meeting here?" "The market has rules," Da-hyun said. "No one can harm another here. No technology or magic can be used for destruction, and what is traded must bring joy or knowledge, never suffering." He touched the table, and the moving lights in the wood grew brighter. "The market itself enforces these rules." A soft bell sound rang through the air, and Da-hyun looked up. "Ah, it seems we have some excitement coming. The dimensional barriers are showing signs of unusual activity." "Is that bad?" Jai-ho asked, worried. "It could be interesting," Da-hyun said with a slight smile. "Perhaps you would like to help. Sometimes new eyes see solutions that old ones miss." Before Jai-ho could answer, he noticed the lights in the market beginning to flicker. The air felt different, charged with strange energy. Something was about to happen. Da-hyun stood up, suddenly looking less like an old man and more like a powerful guardian. "Come, it seems your evening at the market is about to become even more adventurous." The market lights continued to flicker as Jai-ho followed Da-hyun through the winding paths. The air grew thick with strange energy, making it hard to breathe. Above them, the invisible barrier that kept out the rain began to show cracks like breaking glass. "What's happening?" Jai-ho asked, hurrying to keep up with the guardian's quick steps. "A dimensional storm," Da-hyun explained. "Sometimes the barriers between worlds grow unstable. When that happens, the pocket dimension that holds our market becomes vulnerable." They reached Hae-yun's flower stall, where her plants were glowing much brighter than before. Some were changing colors rapidly, while others had stopped singing entirely. Hae-yun herself was trying to calm them, her human disguise flickering to reveal her true form more frequently. "Guardian," she said when she saw them. "The plants can sense it. The barriers are weakening." "I know," Da-hyun said. "We need to stabilize them quickly." Hey Yun, bring your sensing flowers. Ji-ho, please help her. Ji-ho carefully gathered some of the glowing flowers while Hei-yun collected others. They followed Da-hyun to the market center, where other vendors were already gathering. Yun-woo was there with his memory teas, and Sun-mai had brought her translation rings. The pocket dimension is like a bubble, Da-hyun explained to Ji-ho. Usually, it floats safely between worlds. But now, different realities are pulling at it too strongly. We must reinforce the barriers before they break. What happens if they break? Ji-ho asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Then the market and everyone in it could be scattered across different dimensions, Sun-mai said quietly. We might never find our way back to our own worlds. The air crackled with energy. Above them, the barrier showed more cracks. Through them, Ji-ho could see strange lights and shadows that didn't belong to his world. Everyone, take your positions, Da-hyun commanded. He no longer looked like an old man at all. His form was tall and bright, filled with the same starlight that moved through the market's wooden tables. The vendors formed a circle. Hei-yun placed her sensing flowers at specific points, while Yun-woo poured his memory teas in careful patterns on the ground. Sun-mai's rings floated in the air, spinning faster and faster. Ji-ho, Da-hyun said, stand in the center. Your connection to this reality will help anchor us. But I don't have any magic or special powers, Ji-ho protested. You have something just as valuable, Hei-yun said. You have human adaptability. Your mind can accept new realities without breaking. That's a rare gift in the universe. Ji-ho stepped into the center of the circle. The strange energy swirled around him, making his skin tingle. He could feel the pull of different worlds through the cracks in reality. Focus on your world, Da-hyun instructed. Think of what makes it real to you. The sound of rain, the taste of your favorite food, the feeling of sunlight on your face. Ji-ho closed his eyes and thought of his ordinary life. He remembered the taste of his mother's kimchi, the sound of traffic outside his apartment, the weight of his computer keyboard under his fingers. Simple things, real things. As he focused, he felt something strange happen. The swirling energy began to calm. The pulling sensation grew weaker. When he opened his eyes, he saw streams of light flowing from him to the vendors in the circle, and from them to the barrier above. The cracks in reality began to heal. The strange lights faded. Slowly, the market's normal atmosphere returned. Well done, Da-hyun said, his form settling back into that of an elderly man. You see, sometimes the most powerful magic is simply being strongly connected to what's real. Hei-yun stepped forward and touched one of her flowers. It began to sing again, a happy melody. The barriers are stable now, she said, thanks to our human friend. Ji-ho looked around at the smiling faces of the vendors. I still don't understand how I helped. That's exactly why you could help, Yun-woo said. You didn't need to understand. You just accepted it and did what needed to be done. That's what makes humans special in the universe. The market lights returned to normal, and the night continued. But now, Ji-ho walked through the market with new confidence, knowing he had earned his place among these magical beings. After helping save the market from the dimensional storm, Ji-ho found himself back at Da-hyun's pavilion. The old guardian had prepared tea, which steamed gently in traditional Korean cups. Unlike Yun-woo's memory teas, this was simple green tea, its familiar scent helping Ji-ho feel grounded after the evening's excitement. You handled yourself well during the crisis, Da-hyun said, pouring tea for both of them. It made me think about something important. Ji-ho took a careful sip of his tea. What is that? The market needs an official representative from Earth, Da-hyun explained. Someone who understands both worlds. Someone who can help guide other humans who might be invited here, and who can represent Earth's interests in our merchant council. Ji-ho set down his cup slowly. Are you offering this position to me? Yes, Da-hyun said, but you should understand what it means before you answer. The guardian waved his hand, and images appeared above their teacups. Jiho saw wonderful things, distant worlds, magnificent cities built by alien civilizations, gardens of impossible flowers, libraries filled with knowledge from across the universe. As Earth's representative, you would have access to all of this, Dahyun continued. You would learn secrets of the universe that most humans can only dream about. You would help shape how Earth connects with other worlds when the time comes. The images were beautiful, but Jiho noticed something else. Would I have to leave my normal life behind? Your understanding is correct, Dahyun said. This position requires full dedication. You would need to leave your job, your apartment, your ordinary routine. You would live here in the market, learning its ways. Jiho thought about his life, his comfortable apartment, his job writing code, his weekly gaming sessions with friends. Simple things, but they were his. As if reading his thoughts, Hae-yeon appeared from between the market stalls. She had dropped her human disguise, appearing in her true form, tall and graceful, with starlight flowing through her silvery skin. I hope to find you here, she said, her voice carrying musical notes that her human voice couldn't make. I wanted to talk to you before you made your decision. Jiho looked at her. You knew about this offer? Yes, Hae-yeon said. And I should tell you something else. She sat down beside him, her form glowing softly in the evening light. I have enjoyed our time together very much, more than I expected to enjoy the company of any human. Her words made Jiho's heart beat faster, but they also made his decision more complicated. He looked at his hands, still holding the teacup. I don't know what to do, he admitted. This is all so wonderful, but it's also overwhelming. That is why you were chosen, Dahyun said kindly. Because you can feel overwhelmed and still think clearly. Because you can see both the wonder and the cost of such a decision. Hae-yeon reached out and touched Jiho's hand gently. Her touch felt like a warm summer breeze. Whatever you decide, she said, know that you have already changed how many of us see humans. You showed us that sometimes the most extraordinary power is simply being authentically yourself. Jiho looked between them, the ancient guardian and the alien botanist who had become so important to him in just one night. Then he looked out at the market, where vendors from countless worlds shared their wonders. Finally, he looked up through the magical barrier, where he could still see the ordinary rain falling on the ordinary streets of Seoul. He took a deep breath, ready to give his answer. But before he could speak, a new idea began to form in his mind. Perhaps there was another way, a path that hadn't been considered before. Jiho looked at the steaming tea in his cup, gathering his thoughts. Both Dahyun and Hae-yeon waited patiently for his answer about becoming Earth's representative to the market. I have a different idea, Jiho said at last. Something that might work better for everyone. Dahyun raised an eyebrow, interest showing on his aged face. Please, tell us. The market is special because it brings different worlds together, Jiho began. But if I leave my normal life completely, I would lose my connection to the human world. Wouldn't that make me less useful as a representative? Hae-yeon's starlight form brightened slightly, showing her interest. What are you suggesting? What if I could be a part-time representative? Jiho continued. I could keep my job, my apartment, my normal life. But I would also spend time here in the market, helping when needed. That way, I could truly represent both worlds. Interesting, Dahyun said, stroking his chin thoughtfully. No one has suggested such an arrangement before. Think about it, Jiho said, growing more confident. When I'm in my regular life, I can better understand what humans need and want. I can see which parts of our world might interest other civilizations. And when I'm here, I can help other humans understand this place better because I still remember what it's like to live a normal life. Hae-yeon moved closer, her form casting gentle light on the table. He makes a good point, Guardian. Today, when he helped stabilize the market, his connection to his ordinary world was what made him strong. Dahyun was quiet for a moment, considering. The lights of the market played across his face, making him look both ancient and timeless. "You understand," he said finally, "that this would not be easy. You would live in two worlds, belonging fully to neither." "I think that's exactly what Earth's representative needs to do," Jai-ho replied. "We humans are good at adapting, at finding ways to bridge different worlds. It's one of our strengths." Hei-yun reached out and touched one of her glowing flowers that sat on the table. "Like these plants," she said. "They grow best when they have both earth, soil, and starlight. They need both worlds to thrive." Da-hyun smiled slowly. "Perhaps we have been thinking about this wrong all along. We wanted someone to leave their world behind, when what we really needed was someone to build a bridge between worlds." Jai-ho felt relief flow through him. "I could work my regular job during the day, and help here in the evenings and weekends. I could learn about the market gradually, while keeping my understanding of the human world fresh. And I could help," Hei-yun added quickly. Then, seeming embarrassed by her eagerness, she added more formally, "As a botanical researcher, I already study both worlds. I could assist in building these bridges." Da-hyun stood up, his form shifting slightly to reveal some of his true nature, a being made of starlight and wisdom. "Jai-ho, you have shown us something important. The value of being human is not just in your ability to adapt, but in your ability to find new paths where others see only walls." "Does this mean you accept my suggestion?" Jai-ho asked. "Yes," Da-hyun said, "but we will need to work out the details. Creating a stable connection between your regular life and the market will take time and careful planning." Hei-yun's form brightened with joy, her starlight pattern swirling faster. "I can help with that too. My flowers can be used to mark safe paths between worlds." Jai-ho looked between them, feeling a warm happiness spread through his chest. He hadn't had to choose between worlds after all. Instead, he had found a way to belong to both, to help build something new. Outside the market's magical barrier, the autumn rain continued to fall on Seoul's streets. But now Jai-ho saw it differently, not as a barrier between worlds, but as a curtain that could be drawn aside, revealing magic to those who were ready to see it. 3 months after that first magical autumn night, Jai-ho stood at his apartment window, watching the winter snowfall. On his windowsill, a pot of moondrops glowed softly, their tiny blue lights making the snowflakes sparkle as they passed. His life had found a new rhythm. During the day, he worked at his software company, writing code and attending meetings. But now he saw even these ordinary tasks differently. Sometimes he noticed patterns in his code that reminded him of the way starlight moved through the market's wooden tables. Other times, he found himself explaining complex technical problems in ways that helped both humans and market visitors understand them better. The translator ring from Sunmei never left his finger. Though it looked like a simple silver band to human eyes, it helped him understand more than just languages. It helped him bridge the gap between different ways of thinking, making him better at both his human job and his market duties. Tonight was a market night. Jai-ho checked his watch, the same one he'd always worn, but now enhanced by Sunmei to show both Earth time and market time. In 10 minutes, the path would open. Right on schedule, Hei-yun appeared in his living room. She had mastered the art of shifting between her human and true forms, though her eyes always held a hint of starlight. "Ready?" she asked, smiling. "The new Earth visitors are arriving tonight." Jai-ho nodded, gathering his things. After his suggestion about being a part-time representative, Da-hyun had agreed to invite more humans to the market. But now they came gradually, a few at a time, with Jai-ho and Hei-yun helping them adjust to the wonders they would see. They stepped through the portal that Hei-yun's flowers had helped create, a stable pathway between Jai-ho's apartment and the market. The transition was smooth now, practiced. One moment they were in his ordinary living room. The next, they stood among the market's magical stalls. The market had changed too. Now there was a special section for earth goods, where human visitors could share their own world's treasures. Simple things that aliens found fascinating, handmade crafts, traditional foods, Books printed on paper, music played on ordinary instruments. Jai-Ho had learned that magic worked both ways. What seemed ordinary to one world could be wonderful to another. Yunmu's tea stall now included earth teas, each cup holding memories of human experiences that alien visitors found fascinating. Sun Mai had started a collection of earth languages, adding them to her universal translators. Even He-Yun's flower stall had a section of ordinary earth flowers growing alongside their stellar cousins. "Our first group is arriving," He-Yun said, pointing to where Da-Hyun stood with 3 wide-eyed humans. An artist, a teacher, and a chef. Each had been chosen for their ability to see wonder in ordinary things. Jai-Ho stepped forward to greet them. "Welcome to the autumn night market," he said, remembering his own first night. "You're probably wondering why you were invited here." The invitation said something about magic and stars. The artist said, looking around in amazement. "It's all real," Jai-Ho assured them. "And more wonderful than you can imagine. But you don't have to leave your world behind to be part of it. Sometimes the most magical thing is finding ways to bring different worlds together." He-Yun moved to stand beside him, her form shifting gently between human and stellar. Above them, the market's lights danced, and somewhere in the distance, earth music mixed with alien songs to create something new and beautiful. The night was just beginning, and there were wonders to share. Jai-Ho smiled, knowing that he had found his true place, not in one world or another, but in the spaces between, helping others build bridges across the stars. Behind him, Da-Hyun watched with satisfied eyes as another night at the market began, and the boundaries between ordinary and extraordinary continued to blur in the most wonderful ways.